welcome to another creative podcast, because apparently the internet needed another podcast hosted by a creative person. I'm Janelle, a late 20s creative navigating life one lesson, one dream, and one existential crisis at a time. Think of this less like a podcast and more like a long voice memo from a friend who's probably asking the same questions you are. So, let's get into it. Hello, welcome back to another episode. It's been way too long since we last spoke, and quite honestly, I think it's been almost 2 months since I've sat down in front of the camera and filmed a proper podcast episode. I have missed you guys a lot. I feel like there's a lot of catching up that we need to do. So I thought, what better time to talk about the elephant in the room, because I feel like so many of you guys are actually right here with me. So let's talk about it. Guys, it's been 10 years since I graduated high school. Yeah, so if you're listening to this and you graduated high school in class of 2016 and you didn't know, well, now you do. I feel like this is the perfect episode to really dive into what's changed, what hasn't, where I've been, where I'm at, where I'm going, and to kind of just address it all, because I'm kind of going through another life crisis. Gosh, when am I not? But this is a good one, and I feel like a lot of you guys are kind of in the same place as me, or you're in a similar spot. So hopefully this episode brings you some comfort, and if not, some nostalgia. So in case you didn't know, class of 2016 was the 2016, the 2016 people talk about. Oh my gosh, if I have old Snapchat footage or photos or things like that, I am going to upload them here, because you guys, I low-key was that girl in 2016. Honestly, the girl I was my senior year of high school, especially at the end of the year. At the beginning of the year, she was lost. She was so lost. The girl at the end, however, she knew who she was. And I say that because that is the year that I actually decided to pick up a camera and start shooting for YouTube. I started editing vlogs, uploading on YouTube constantly, and I just had so much fun. I also was such an adventurer. I was down to do anything. I was that friend where it's you want to get into trouble, I'll be right there with you. You want to go jump off cliffs, I'll be right there with you. You want to go on a road trip out of town randomly, I'll be right there with you. I was that person, and I was also a bit of a mess. But who isn't messy when they're 18? I remember music being so good in 2016. My music taste was phenomenal. I'm not gonna even lie. My tan, phenomenal also. My friend group was actually great. I loved my friend group. Were we really friends? That's kind of up for debate, but at the time it felt as real as it could be. And I wouldn't change a single thing about how my life was in 2016. So when it comes to myself and who I am, lots has changed, but lots also hasn't. Right off the bat, if you're wondering, in 2016, was I as depressed as I am now? The answer is yes. Still depressed. But we're funny about it. We're actually open about it. We're more vulnerable. I think I often hid behind being the quirky girl when it came to my internal struggles. I never hid it, but I didn't really talk about it. And I did not advocate for mental health when I was younger. Honestly, that's something I wish I did more when I was younger. But that's not why we're here. I will say, in 2016, I did not have a single gray hair on my head, unless it was bleached, because that was trending. Specifically a gray bleached balayage look. That was so trendy, and you bet I did it that summer. And I didn't even last long, because something about me, and I always tell people, I've gone blonde 3 times in my life and it's never stayed. And that's for good reason. I'm not meant to be a blonde. I'm a brunette who still has fun. Speaking of fun, I feel like that's what 2016 was. 10 years ago, I remember not having a single care about responsibilities. I didn't care about bills. I didn't care about where my money was coming from. I didn't care about how I was filling up the gas in my mom's car, because, well, I was a kid and she took care of that for me. However, now that I'm older, oh, do I wish I didn't worry about bills. I wish I didn't stress about gas prices to fill up my own car, the car that I make my own car payments for. Life was just overall much simpler back in 2016. I also didn't really have a care in the world, quite honestly. I think as I got older, I often became much more afraid of existing in the world, and I stopped taking risks. I started getting too comfortable, and that's something I wish upon no one. Comfort and security with where you're at can be a good thing until it's all you rely upon. I feel like that's kind of what happened to me these last few years. I got so comfortable being in a place where I felt like I couldn't speak up for myself. I felt like I couldn't advocate for things I wanted. I felt like I was not enough, which is not true because, I mean, gosh, even from December to now, I have just changed so much for the better. When I left my career as a social media manager behind me, I knew I had a lot of growing to do and healing to do. And I felt like these last 6 months, all I've done is just kind of heal, but also learn to exist without the weight of the world on my shoulders. And now that I finally have realized, life doesn't always have to be hectic and chaotic, and I don't have to be thriving only under chaos, I now feel okay to kind of put myself back out there in the world and to start being an active participant in my life. And that is a phrase that I use often, but I don't say it lightly. I think a lot of us go through life kind of just going through it, not actually living it, and being immersed in the conversations around us, being invested in the people around us, and actually interested in what they are bringing to our lives. And that's so scary. I don't think anyone should be coasting through life because we're not promised every day. In fact, someone once told me, time is the only currency we don't get back. So that's why it's important to make moments matter. And I so highly stand behind that. There's been that trend on social media where people talk about romanticizing their lives. And as silly as it sounds, it's actually something we all should do a little bit more often. I remember I've been trying to incorporate more of these little whimsical moments into my everyday life, and I've actually noticed a difference in how I feel about memories and how I remember things and how I talk about things, even when I'm reminiscing on things or when I'm sharing memories with someone else about something that happened. I think there's magic behind living a life with intent. And I feel like these last 6 months, it's something that just has been really hard for me to do. I've had a lot of fun creating short form content these last few months. And if you follow me on TikTok, you'd know that I post quite frequently on there. But I think I figured out why that is and why it's easier for me to show up there than it is on long form content. And quite honestly, it's because I don't have to always be so vulnerable on there. I don't have to always show up like this. I don't even have to speak in videos. And that's nice that I can show up however I want, whenever I want. And I've kind of forgotten I can do that in any aspect of my life. So that's why I'm showing up here on the podcast. I actually spent time today really putting all the pieces together to finalize this new version of the podcast because I've been putting it off for so long. And I think what was really hard for me when it came to filming podcast episodes these last few months has been that I was going to try to film episodes for a platform that I no longer feel aligned with. That's the honest truth. My podcast, when it started, was something that I was so proud to be putting out, so happy to do. And then something happened and I started to think more about the purpose of my podcast and what it really stands for and what I really want this to be and what I want it to grow into. And as I started going on different journeys throughout my life, I started meeting other people, and a lot of them were really loving the podcast, but they were loving episodes that had nothing really to do with me being a creative. They liked the episodes where I was just being, me. And that was liberating because I often feel like I hid behind labels. And I felt like, okay, I'm Janelle, I'm a photographer. That's me. I'm Janelle, I'm a creative. That's me. I'm Janelle, I'm a podcast host. That's me. But no, actually it's not. I'm much more than just one of those things or all of those things. And so I knew change had to come with it. The same way that I'm not the person I was in 2016 is the same way I'm not the person I was 6 months ago or 10 months ago or 16 months ago. This podcast stemmed from a place of wanting to be heard and hoping to find a community that just resonated with the thoughts that I was having or wanted to continue the conversations I was wanting to start having amongst my peers. And I feel like it hasn't really changed that much, but the concept of the podcast had to change. So that's why you guys heard a new intro. And that's why there's also a new cover for the podcast, because all these things feel way more aligned with who I am now and where I see this podcast going versus when I started. I remember 10 years ago when I started my YouTube channel, the goal was to be a YouTuber, and we still haven't made it there, but I do have more subscribers now than I did when I was in high school. And I did have a viral video happen once on YouTube, and younger me would have been so proud. The year before the podcast actually went live, I started posting more frequently for just like YouTube videos. And I remember responding to comments, and I was sitting there like one morning being like, dang, younger me would have been so proud of the fact that like part of my morning routine is replying to YouTube comments from strangers I've never met. And even now I say this with a smile on my face because like I actually think I'm so cool. I think younger me would have been so proud of who I am today. I was talking to my husband about all the different versions of myself that I've been since, we've been together, and we know different versions of ourselves and we've seen all of them. And I sometimes forget how often we grow and evolve and change, and how proud I've been at myself every step of the way. In hindsight, I can stand behind everything I've done and look back and be proud. And my younger self would have never believed the life that she's lived, all because she took chances and risks on herself. So part of the reason why I'm also continuing this podcast and moving forward with it is, for that younger version of myself. I remember being 21 years old, and my roommate and I went to go get burgers at this popular burger shop in town. And I remember that I ordered a soda and I didn't get my cup. And I was so petrified to ask the person at the counter for my cup that I had paid for, because I was just honestly dealing with crippling social anxiety, and I was too scared to ask. And she could not believe it. She was literally like, girl, what do you mean you can't ask for it? Like, you paid for it. I'm like, I cannot bring myself to do it. And she had to ask for it. And most people my whole life who've gotten close to me have known that I struggled with social anxiety my entire life. I was always afraid to ask for napkins. I was always afraid to ask for things at the counter. I was often afraid to order for myself. I was just so scared to ask people for things. And just the fear of embarrassing myself in public literally made me feel like I was gonna die. And that's something that I never really thought I would grow out of. When I was 18, I really thought that that was just kind of me. But I'm proud to say that 10 years later, I am not afraid of that. In fact, I put myself out there and I actually talk to strangers in public. Like, we went to the movies the other day and somebody like said something kind to me because I said, excuse me, and then, or sorry, or something like that. And then we were talking. And then the person next to me, I was talking to them too. And I share this all by saying that when you remember that 10 years have passed since you graduated high school, if you're like me, don't think too much about all the big accomplishments. Think about all the little ways that you've grown and changed throughout the years, because that's honestly what keeps me feeling better about where these last 10 years have gone. Because honestly, I thought I was going to show up to my high school reunion with a whole different career title. I thought I was going to be in a whole different place. I thought I was going to be more successful. And when I think about what my life is and what it's become, I'm so proud of every aspect of it. I love my life and I wouldn't change a single thing. However, I do wish I did more. I do wish I tried more. I do wish I worked harder. I'm proud of how far I've come, but I know that younger me is rooting for me to reach all the success that I know I'm capable of reaching. And so this year, I'm giving every single thing a shot. Every single thing that I was too scared to do and too scared to show up for and too scared to try, I'm doing it. I'm doing it all, and I am doing it scared and honestly hot and sweaty, because I had to turn the fan on low to film, and it's getting really hot. I only have about 6 months left of this year, and probably like 4 months left until my high school reunion, which honestly, I don't even know if I'm going to, because I want to go because I know the effort that's getting put into something that's being planned, and I want to be that person that shows up for it. But also, I don't know if I should go. I think I do want to go, but I don't know if I should go. I talked to my best friend about it and said, hey, we should go, and like just us two, and then maybe we just get like wasted or something, and then it's fun. But also at the same time, I don't know, like if you graduated in a small town, honestly, if you know exactly what I'm talking about, maybe you guys might know what I'm talking about, but I graduated in a very small town where like everyone knew everyone. And honestly, everyone that I've like wanted to reconnect with and talk to from high school, I just about have already in like my normal life. So I don't know if I'm going to that. If you're in my graduating class, let me know if you're going, or like what's the vibe, what are we doing? I don't know. I just feel like class of 2016 was just so iconic, and I feel like we have to do something. I don't know, but what I do know is that in a way I feel like I'm running out of time, because 10 years have passed and I'm like, what the hell have I done? But at the same time, I've done so much, and I'm so proud, and my life may not look like what I thought it would look like when I was younger, but I'm kind of happy because oh my gosh, I thought I was gonna be a housewife, like a stay-at-home housewife who had like, oh my gosh, do I even want to go into this? Maybe I don't want to go into this. I pretty much thought that I was just going to be like someone's eye candy and like live in someone's shadows. Fortunately, that's not where my life ended up being. And I'm so happy that I have a partner who actually views me as their equal. And I did end up getting married young, which I kind of thought would happen because your girl's a lover girl, if you didn't know. But I'm happy I ended up with someone who loves my crazy antics and believes in me 100%. And I hope everyone finds someone like that. And like, honestly, me finding love in these last 10 years is probably like the most shocking thing. I never thought I'd get there. But that's besides the point, because I have an episode that I'm working on that's going to dive into all about how I ended up married young. But going back to today's topic, if you are also realizing that, hey, we graduated high school 10 years ago, what happened to time? Look, I'm just going to tell you this right off the bat. Don't start going to social media and comparing yourself and spiral into this whole crisis of like, what am I doing with my life? Because I've been there, done that. Reminder, comparison is the thief of joy. Do not compare yourself. Do not compare your life to anyone else's, because your life is your life and you still have time. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. How you choose to spend them is up to you. So if you're looking for some motivation to just reinvent your whole life or do something with it, this is it. I'm here to tell you that you can do it, because I honestly feel like I'm reinventing my life every like 3 to 6 months. But that's also because, well, your girl's a creative. She's a dreamer. My brain comes up with like 10 business ideas a day, and I only act upon like 1 or 2 of them a year. So that's pretty impressive in my humble opinion. So just know that you still have time. As much as it may seem that I'm low-key kind of having a crisis, because I kind of am having a life crisis, but like, we're figuring it out. Like, all is good. I have a plan in place. I'm doing the thing. Like, I'm gonna be so fine. I just have to keep telling myself that. And you do too, because I was once seeing a therapist who said the song Vienna by Billy Joel reminded her of me every time she heard it, and I like hadn't really remembered what the song was about. So like, after that therapist appointment, I listened to that song and I was like, oh, it actually resonated with me, because I was so young at the time. I remember this was about almost 3-4 years ago when this therapist told me about this song, and I often think about that song when I kind of start to feel like I'm running out of time, because 28's not young, but it's also not old. You can reinvent yourself at any age. 28, 48, 68, 88. Life is only over when you say it is, or when the world determines it's your time. But as of right now, you're the only one who can make the change that you want to see in your life or in the world. So hang in there with me, take a deep breath, and just remember that it's not too late. You're not running out of time. You're just wasting it. That's kind of it. And if you're going through stuff, be so patient with yourself. Healing is not a linear experience, and it never is going to be. But healing is your responsibility. So you're also with me, and you have now realized that it's been 10 years since the class of 2016 has graduated. Welcome to the club. I want to know what your guys' thoughts are. This episode was kind of like a rambly mess because I wanted to just go off the riff and speak from my mind and my heart. So I'm going to leave this here with you guys. I'm going to turn around the conversation to you guys. And how are we feeling now that we've graduated? Because... oh, I also forgot to mention, in case you're wondering and you've been following me for so long, I did not graduate college. I am a 3-time college dropout, and I proudly say that with my whole chest. Okay, I guess that's enough. So I guess I will talk to you guys in the next one. Bye!